I'd have to say the Beatles was the first thing I was exposed to. I used to sneak into my brother's room and grab his some of his records. So the first thing I remember really getting into was early Beatles records. And he had albums that came right over from England. I had an aunt who grew up in England, so he had we had all the Beatle records on the original label. He had the cover-up version of Yesterday and Today. So yeah, Beatles was it for me. I used to, when I was a little kid, pretend I was Paul McCartney and be playing air guitar, and then I advanced to had a badminton racket. And I took all the horizontal strings off it, and I pretend that was a guitar, and stupid stuff like that. Then I also, from there, got into early Grand Funk Railroad. I remember listening to tons of Grand Funk Live and Time Machine, and We're an American Band, still one of my favorite all-time records. After that, I got heavily into Deep Purple and Black Sabbath and Alice Cooper. Early Alice Cooper, I thought, was just amazing stuff. I had the desk from the top of the cover for Schools Out, folded out origami style, I guess, into a little school desk. I remember that was really cool. I remember having the Killer poster from the Killer album on my wall. My parents must have been horrified by all that. Yeah, and then of course I did have a little bit of exposure to Southern stuff. I remember a very important record early on was Allman Brothers Live at the Fillmore East. Played the hell out of that record too. So yeah, that's basically it. In my late teens and 20s, Judas Priest and Saxon and Maiden and the new wave of British heavy metal, and of course 1978, Van Halen 1 changed the world for everybody that was into hard rock. So those were my influences, I guess, the things I liked to listen to growing up, the good stuff. My first real band was a band called Night Rider. It was some guys from in the neighborhood that were, childhood friends, I guess you could say. And we started getting together and learning some cover tunes and playing the stuff that we were all digging during, for that era, Priest and Maiden and Def Leppard. And we were young guys. I think my bass player was probably 15 at the time, maybe even younger when we started. And there was 2 guitars, bass and drums. Everybody tried to sing. But we also started writing original music pretty much right out of the gate as well. And we ended up writing some really, really, really good new wave of British heavy metal style sounding original stuff, dual harmony guitars, and great music. It holds up to this day, and it's going back to 1984. I really wish we could have recorded that stuff the way it should have been presented, and I think it would have gone over pretty well. I played through some other small cover bands. The band I was in just before, the last band I was in, I should say, it's a band called Preacher Stone. It's a original Southern rock band. I played drums with them for about 2 years. I played on their second release in the studio called Uncle Buck's Vittles. It's a good album, kind of heavy. Yeah, that's about it. Right now I'm playing with the Brent Enman band. Yeah, I've always been a drummer before anything else. I'm self-taught. I often tell people that I don't have a lot of regrets in life, but one thing I wish I could have done was gone to music school and got some formal training. But I learned from just taking stacks of records and putting on my record player and dropping a needle and putting the headphones on and driving my parents bananas trying to play all the songs on the records. And I don't ever remember having a hard time with drums. Came very easy to me. I don't remember ever sitting there trying to figure out how to play a beat in the early days. I just sat down and played. But yeah. So I've always played drums for, and, I do what I do. I can't play jazz. Can't play certain things. I know what I'm good at, and that's straight ahead hard rock type stuff. Then I started out of a desire to write some songs. My dad brought home this little yard sale guitar, a piece of junk, and first thing I did was stick a pickup in it that was some little DiMarzio pickup or something in it, and tried to jam on that. He showed me a couple of chords because he could play, and that was it. I didn't really get seriously into it for a long time. I owned some guitars, but never really got into really practicing woodshedding on it. I was always playing drums in bands. So it hasn't been until the last couple of years that I've really put in the time and to try and learn the instrument to a certain degree, anyway. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. Love playing guitar. Love playing drums, but I love guitar equally, if not a little bit more, if I'm being honest. Recording a solo record was tough. I did the Wildman record in 2 5-day sessions of recording, and I think I allowed a week, 5 days for mixing. After my first day in the studio, I was pretty freaked out. Just laying down reference tracks. I thought I was in over my head, and I'm like, oh man, I'm not gonna be able to pull this off. But the engineer slash producer calmed me down and said, man, you'll be fine. So I've only always played drums in the studio. This is the first time going in playing guitar and lead guitar and vocals and bass and doing all that. And I had some issues with a couple of the guitars I had not staying in tune, and I had a bum tuner and just gremlins that I had to work through. And once we got that all sorted out and I got the drum tracks laid out, things went pretty well. I gotta say, it can be very daunting trying to lay down tracks because it's so permanent, and you always think you can do better, and you probably can do better, but time is money. I'm pretty happy with how the record came out, given the constraints I was working under, that being time and money. I do everything myself. I don't have anybody, no label, nothing backing me. There's no Kickstarter, this or that. I tried to do it all myself. I did the artwork on the album myself, all the liner notes, the artwork on the CD itself. Everything was done by me. But yeah, absolutely an incredible experience to go through. And for sure, though, when you get done, you don't want to hear anything that you just did for a good month. I mean, you're excited, but at the same time, you're really burnt out from hearing it over and over and over again. But once you go through the process and hear the mixes for the first time, there isn't a feeling like it. I mean, I love playing live. I love performing live. And if you're in front of the right crowd and you're getting the energy back and you're just giving 150%, I mean, that's amazing too. But hearing your final mixes for the first time is out of this world, man. There ain't nothing like it. Yeah, so if you can get in the studio by yourself or with some friends, and not just recording at home. I know that's the easy way to do it, but working in a well-equipped studio, if there's a way you can get somebody to finance it for you or whatnot, I highly recommend it. There's nothing quite like that experience. It's awesome. Do I plan on doing another record? I would love to do another record. As we speak, I'm going to be mixing 3 new songs this week and roll them out in the next coming weeks, months. I'm finding with the state of the music biz the way it is now, putting out some singles for downloads might be the ticket to go. And then when you have enough of them put together, maybe compile into another record or whatnot. I'm not quite sure. But I have tons and tons of music in I call sniglets, little ideas, a piece of a chorus, a piece of a riff, piece of a, idea, waiting in the wings to be completed and developed. So I would love to do another solo record, and that's yet to be determined. Got to see how it all shakes out. When I was playing with Knight Rider, I was a wild kid, did a lot of stupid things, and I remember I used to grab the 2 front straight cymbal stands I had at the end of the show, and I'd lift them up in the air and I'd smash them together, and sometimes I'd break the cymbal off one, and just doing crazy antics like that. And I think one of the guys in the band introduced me at a show and said the Wildman on the drums or something, and it just kind of stuck from there. And I got some friends of mine I toured up and down the East Coast in a tribute band, and they always called me Wildman. And so that's how I got the nickname Wildman. I'm not very wild these days, but I thought it would be fitting to call the first record Wildman. I had no clue what else to do with it, call it, so we settled on Wildman. So that's it. I am the Wildman. Is this my real hair? Yeah, this is my real hair. It's gray. It may not be the right color. Real color, but it's my real hair. Yep. Shampoo it Viagra if you want big hair. Rock on. Till next time. Wildman out.